Welcome to Rauta's opinion video. This is more about report or review rather than just ordinary opinion video. Now, last weekend, that is a week ago, I was actually on Nordic Metal Cruise 2020. This is a boat cruise that was now organized for the third time and second time for me. Now, last year, if people were around on following Rauta those times, you probably saw some of my interviews from last year. We did three ones, one from Enslaved, my favorite one, and also a couple of other bands, which you will find there on the interview section in case you're interested. But we also took some footage out of the boat, as you know, in general, like how the audience were, how the boat actually looks like. It's not a boat, it's a big cruising ship. But anyway, and how to describe it shortly is like it's very Nordic, that is Finnish-Swedish version of these kind of 70 tons of metal and whatnot. Obviously, there is no Bermuda heat, there are no spas in those terms that you can just pretty much fart in those, jacuzzis while you just can watch the shows on stage. But it's more like Nordic version of going Las Vegas. That is, you have tax-free booze, you have parties like discos and bars open until the very late of night. You get plenty of different restaurants, and obviously people are there drunk as skunk pretty much most of the time, if not all the time. But when it comes to this twist of metal, it's not called Nordic Metal Cruise for no reason. There is a selection of bands that are there to play for people's convenience, like 2 bands per night. That is when the boat actually leaves from Turku, Finland, and then comes back some 23 hours later. You get to see like 2 bands on each night. For example, this year the headlining band on Saturday evening was Dark Funeral, and on the Sunday evening when we were coming back, it was At the Gates. And then we had then there was a DJ playing some kind of annoying tracks, to be honest. But anyway, kind of a mixture of having these slot machines and people going crazy about drinking at bars, and then obviously these bands. Now, since it was a Nordic Metal Cruise, not your everyday cruise, which just go here every day back and forth between Sweden and Finland, most of the people on board were like metalheads of various kinds. Some more into the extreme metal side of metal. That is kind of obvious when we have bands like At the Gates and Dark Funeral there, but also bands like Brymir and more Subita. Mostly people were obviously going for At the Gates and Dark Funeral, and it seems that maybe most were even for Dark Funeral there. But obviously there were some bad people who were more interested in these not so big names, and some people just wanted to take this cruise just for the sake of it. It's always fun. That by fun I mean it's usually excessive drinking, seeing friends, mutual-minded people, making new acquaintances. Some people probably got laid. Some people probably spent their fortune on slot machines and card tables and whatever. So it's like a miniature size Las Vegas. Nothing here is big as in Vegas. Obviously, it's just a cruise boat, not a big million city. But the thing, kind of the feedback, what you get from people is pretty much the same. They go for this 23 hours cruise to just forget their everyday weekday life, to kind of take distance from your work days and things at home, be it troublesome or otherwise, and obviously have some tax-free booze to take over, not to mention candies and other souvenirs. Now, my point was there, like I had one mission, and that was to interview Dark Funeral, because obviously that's a band that I haven't been interviewed earlier, and that I managed to do. Thanks for all the people related to getting that done. So that's what I wanted to tell you about, basically. I wanted to do At the Gates interview as well, but that didn't happen for various reasons. Maybe basically not having the right people to talk to and whatever. But it's no big deal, because obviously At the Gates is something that I have already interviewed only about a year ago, so it's not that big deal really. And what else? Well, we went to interview some people, you know, the average tourists and metalheads on the boat. So you will have this kind of a more gonzo type of interview video there. It might be totally waste of time for some, but if you have taken a look at the last year's video, which we did, I think it might be rather hilarious or cringy face palming moments to have your coffee, beer, whiskey, or other beverage with. Now, I don't know if that is what people hoped that we could do. Some people were probably hoping that we could just interview all the bands and whatever, but things don't always go as planned. But the main plan to do the Dark Funeral interview and just have some booze and great time and give you a little bit of all-around view of this cruise is something that happened, and I'm just actually happy about it. Now, those two cruises probably have been the best cruises I've been to, and trust me, living in this seaside city, I've been on those cruises quite many times through some 40, 30 years when I've been attending those cruises. And the boats get better, you know, eventually. They get bigger, they get better food, better selection of booze, and, you know, more just fun to spend your time with. So what can I say is, based on these two trips now I've done, you should be considering, especially if you live in the Nordic countries, to participate on those cruises, because they are quite different from your average festival trip or gig trip or whatever. Obviously, I have no idea what's going to be in next year, like how Nordic Metal Cruise 2021 is going to be. So obviously, you'll just have to wait for this announcement. But I would suggest that in case you are not allergic to these kind of events, you should mark up them in your calendar and maybe follow those or that event on Facebook so you get information whenever it's available. And obviously, if you're still this kind of a pondering one, like, I'm not sure if these kind of trips are my kind of trips, you should watch those videos that are about, I don't mean the interviews, but these kind of a recap interviews, gonzo, whatever videos you want to call them. And they should be out in a couple of weeks. I hope that next week we should have the first one, followed by a week or two later the next one. I don't know in which order I'm gonna get them from my editor, who was also the camera person on board, but you will find out. Whatever comes first, and then you will have it on Tuesday interview slot. So that's pretty much, to sum it up, my feelings on Nordic Metal Cruise 2020. Really liked it, and well, I hope to see you there on the future. And on other news, Turku Saatanalle is only a few weeks away, and we will have some new interviews coming up from that as well. Should you want to see more interviews come in the future as well on Rauta, I truly hope that you would consider becoming a Rauta Patreon on www.patreon.com/Rauta. You will find the links on every video. So in case you want to become the patron of the channel, and in order to help us fund these interview trips, please, all help is welcome. But obviously it's nothing mandatory, just there to have it in case you want to support the channel to grow with more interviews coming your way. This is all from Rauta. Thank you for watching. Take care.